Welcome back to Franchise Hockey Manager 12 with the Boston Bruins rebuild. Now, after a pretty exciting draft, it's safe to say that we're headed in the right direction. Let's look at the depth chart and see where everyone kind of stacks up before we end up jumping to the training, because I did see that that was an option right now. So Gavin McKenna is our top prospect. Kind of crazy. We just end up drafting him as well. And then Hoggins is shortly, very close behind him and a little bit older. Then you have Rubrick, who is just below that as well, and then Caleb Desnoyers, who we ended up getting last season. Same thing with Roger McQueen, who's going to be making his debut as well. Willie Moore we end up having before, and Villeneuve, I believe we just end up signing as well. Cole Chandler looks like a prospect as well, and Cole Husson is also one of the acquisitions that we ended up getting last year. So we'll end up looking at the training and kind of see where everything falls, because I didn't see that there's options before to go into this. So now that I end up seeing it, we can kind of specialize just a little bit, right? So we could either go into skill-specific training, we could go into skill group training, so goaltending, technique, and tactics, and then we can also go into the category for mental or goalie. So yeah, we could also just do regular training. So obviously we'll kind of look at more so as mental and physical and see if there's anything that we end up wanting to fix. I mean, I understand the mental. Mental, I feel as though just kind of comes with time. We'll just, we'll kind of have to look at, I guess, the technique, right? So recovery, skating reflexes. Yeah, let's go with technique here. We'll just end up kind of trying it out. He's most likely going to be our backup anyways. So we'll end up doing technique instead of tactics. So remaining 11 to 12 weeks. So that's pretty good. We're doing this just on the cusp that it ended up getting announced as well. We'll look at DiPietro as well. His mentals look pretty good, so we'll put him in the same training as well and kind of see what ends up happening with that. Andre, I think we can kind of skip that. We'll go mostly on our prospects actually. So we're not going to do every single one of them because it's going to take a very long time. But we'll look at someone like maybe Ty Nelson, who we just ended up getting. Right, so defensive rating, obviously he needs to focus more on his defense, so we'll end up doing that for him. We're not obviously going to do that for everyone, but let's see if we can do that. So defensive tactics, we'll do that. He needs to kind of shore that up. His offensive looks pretty good, and then we'll look at someone like Musty as well. Musty means defensive. I'd say it's physical. Obviously, I like quicker guys. He did grade pretty well. Physical, yeah, stamina can increase as well. He is still relatively young at 21. Yeah, we'll do that for this season. We'll end up improving his physicals. Yeah, we'll go with that. And then let's look at, hopefully we don't end up stringing these players. Let's go at Hoggins. Unfortunately, you can't do any of your draft picks. You can only do them once they're on your roster. So McQueen, yeah, right wing. Is there anything specific? So goal scorer, he's not really much of. Power forward is a bit more. Again, I'm going to go with his physicals. Let's just focus on physicals for McQueen. So yeah, we're not going to do anything specific. You know what? We'll try and improve his offense. Let's just do that. Obviously, he's going to be more of an all-around player, but we can always do the next thing next year as well. It's just the long term in terms of developing. Him, I mean, face-offs would be great, obviously, because then he could be our top center. Yeah. Perimeter shooter, yeah, he's not really honing anything. He's going to be more of a playmaker, it looks like. So let's see if there's any options for us to kind of do more of a playmaker. Playmaking. There we go. So end up focusing more on that for him. But like I said, we're going to end up doing that for tons of other players as well. Pasternak, I think we can probably leave him as is. Swayman, pretty much the same. McAvoy, I don't know how much it's really going to end up helping the older guys. And Poitras, I mean, looks like he's more suited for right wing, to be honest. If I'm just guessing. He is a playmaker as well, perimeter shooter. He does have, yeah, shooting accuracy. I could increase that. Yeah, we'll do shooting accuracy for him. He doesn't score all that much. Did in the AHL. Let's look at his stats. Yeah, he's not much of a goal scorer. He's more of an assist guy. So playmaking seems like it makes the most sense. But you know what? Let's just try for goal scoring. Actually, maybe we'll just do goal scoring. I don't know, I'm seeing it. So we're going to go shooting. We'll end up doing that. So that's all that we're going to do for that. We'll end up looking at some of the other changes that we end up doing a little bit further on. So let's jump to how this team ends up looking start of the season, and we'll see how some of these skills end up increasing. So we'll end up kind of taking a mental note of a lot of these players, and then we'll just kind of see how well they end up developing. So we ended up cleaning up our training programs, and this is what we ended up with at the end of it. Unfortunately, we did just sign a player that we didn't quite get him before the deadline, but here it shows how they progressed and how much it's more projected as well. So we'll kind of see how things go. It shows only 6, but I'm pretty sure that we ended up having 8 before, so maybe some of the players ended up finishing beforehand. I think the only one that we ended up missing was, so we already ended up getting McQueen as well, and I think probably Hoggins is probably the other one that they look like they end up finishing their training. So we'll end up seeing what ends up happening at the end of the season. But for now, or the beginning of the season, but for now, we'll look at some of the trades that we end up doing or some of the acquisitions. We weren't as busy though. We did sign Klinberg, as you guys saw beforehand. We signed Lomberg as well, a left winger. He has decent checking and decent hitting, so we mainly gone in for that, just to hopefully end up getting him on the third or fourth line, more of a grinder role. Particularly, he is a back-checking forward. He does have some pretty good speed as well, so Lomberg should do pretty good for us. He played for Calgary last season. Another player is Jesse Heslop. I believe he was one of the players that was drafted that we did end up signing. So we signed him after the draft. He did grade a 72 last year, so we kind of just took a flyer on him. He's probably going to end up spending most of his days in the AHL for us anyways. We got Raphael Harvey-Pinard. It's one of those guys that I've gotten in the past. He's only really been jumping around AHL on the past 2 seasons, it looks like. And we'll definitely give him a chance at starting. He's probably going to be a third or fourth line player. He can play left wing and center. Most likely he's going to be playing left wing, counterattacking as well. But we didn't sign him for that long. We have him for 2 years, pretty much league minimum. And not really going to hurt the bank at all, but we do need roster players. Jack Grouty was one of the players that we ended up getting. He retired. No way. I think we sent him to the ECHL, and then he ends up retiring right after. He was mock drafted for 105. I don't know why this guy ended up retiring. That is completely wild. I actually had high hopes for this guy. I thought he could actually crack the lineup at some point. But he decides to retire as soon as we end up sending him down, which is kind of wild when you think of it. Ashton Brown, we end up signing as well. He's one of those prospects as well. He has decent physical. His temperament was what kind of stood up. He has determination as well, so we'll end up having to monitor him just a little bit. Offensive rating's not that great, but I mean, there's such thing as defensive forwards as well. But regardless, if he ends up playing well for us, or if he ends up, we can probably actually send him. We'll sign him to the WHL. Might as well do it now. I know we could have used the roster spot, but it makes perfect sense for us. Grady Martin was another one in Pinchuk. Pinchuk, he was a free agent. He actually doesn't look that bad. He played in the KHL, and his determination's pretty good. His agility's pretty good. He's a 2.5 star player. Face-offs are okay, so he could be our third or fourth line center, and not too bad. Getting open, everything's pretty much basic. Most green, which is very good. Obviously, he's not much of a shooter, and shot blocking, not much of it, but he does have face-offs and some of the defensive ratings that we end up needing. So he'll be decent when you end up pairing him up with a good grinder as well. Grady Martin was another player that we didn't end up drafting, but we ended up signing him anyways. I think we're going to end up probably sending him to... Oh no, we can't send him to the WHL. So he's going to end up having to stay with us at the age of 20. Determination's still there. He is only 1.5. Obviously, none of these intangibles look very good. I mean, I feel as though that should be graded a little bit higher, but he's going to spend most of his days in the AHL as well. And then we end up getting Kyle Downey, I don't even know if he was drafted before. Looks like an undrafted player from a couple years ago. He does live in Caledon, which is kind of interesting. Mental toughness and stamina is pretty much there, but he's going to spend the season in the ECHL. He did last year as well. He didn't have the greatest save percentage, but who knows? Things can kind of turn around. He's half a star, and I mean, it doesn't really cost us that much to end up signing him. 2 years, and we'll kind of see where we are with that. Looking at that depth chart, though, he is still a ways from DiPietro, looking like that. Yeah, at least DiPietro has a stamina and professionalism, but either way, none of these two players would probably play for us anyway, so no harm, no foul, just more so just to get more players signed for us because we don't have that many. We'll go into the contracts in a minute, but yeah, Rubric, hopefully he ends up doing well in the OHL here, and then we can get him next year. Someone like Voronkov might end up parting ways as well. Harvey Pinard, yeah, like I said, could play center. I'm sure he can play right wing as well if we need it. Yeah, he can probably change as well. Musty, yeah, he's strictly on left wing. So we'll see what ends up happening throughout the season. Maybe even he ends up playing in the AHL instead. Or he just ends up kind of being a guy that ends up kind of slotting in when you need him. But we're pretty healthy in terms of picks this year. Obviously, we'll try and see what we can do later on towards the beginning of the season. But let's see what this team's going to look like, if there's any changes, and we'll play the first couple games to kind of see how things shake up. We now jump to the regular season, and it looks like we're finally getting recognized for something, and it's our goalie. So Swayman is recognized as the top 3 goalie standouts this year, but doesn't look like we're anywhere close at doing well this season, but we're not expected to. I wouldn't say that that's my general expectation for the season. We did do decent in the preseason. I'll look at that in 2 seconds, and I'll show it to you guys. But yeah, it looks like Dallas is going to be the top 1, Winnipeg and Tampa. And then Carolina is also another standout as well. Then you have, of course, Philadelphia's Connor McDavid, so annoying. And then Edmonton's Draisaitl and Kucherov, both with original teams as well. Cale Makar still with Colorado, and Quinn Hughes with Colorado as well. They're going to be fighting for the best defenseman with Dahlin as well. So ultimately, I find that pretty crazy, but we'll look at the schedule in the preseason. We'll start off in September. So we end up losing 1, and then we end up winning 2, lost 1, lost, and then we lost the last 2. But ultimately, it's better than what I was expecting. And looking at the roster here, we'll show the lines first, then we'll look at the contracts after. So it looks like Voronkov's going to get the nod, at least to start this off, with Lindholm and Pasternak. Like I said, the Lindholm thing's kind of preventing these players from developing, so throughout the season we might end up having to just shop them away for something. Maybe a pick next year, maybe something like that, but if we can end up getting rid of him this season, it'll move up Hoggins, move up Poitras, or maybe Poitras has to go on the wing as well, but looks like we're pretty slotted for that, unless he can play left wing. Musty's now on third line as well. I do like the third line. Third line's pretty good, and I think our fourth line is probably one of the best in the NHL at the moment, which I don't know if that's really saying much. McKenna, Hoggins, and McQueen on the same line as well. Voronkov, Lindholm, and Pasternak. Lindholm and McAvoy together, and then Lorley and Klingberg, and then Andre, and then Nelson as well. So all in all, pretty good. These might change. We might end up putting Nelson where Klingberg is, obviously just for development. I might actually just do that now, and then just kind of leave it at that. 2-way defenseman, rushing defenseman, and quarterback. I don't mind that at all. Cap obligations here. Voronkov, I mean, we could sign him as well. We could part ways with him. So it's going to see how well he does for the first maybe 20 games, then we'll kind of make a decision as well. Same thing with Lomberg and then Pinchuk as well. So we're not... okay. And then Nielsen as well. Nielsen's probably going to end up parting ways anyways. But we'll kind of look at that as we go. Jackson Edwards as well. Skarek, for whatever reason, is our backup. That's weird. AI ended up bringing down Lindbaum to start off in the AHL, so we'll see what ends up happening with that. That's kind of weird. I'm guessing it's because of waivers. We didn't end up grabbing any player on waivers, unfortunately. We'll take a look if they're still available. I kind of doubt it. Oh no, they are. So we could still get a player, but it doesn't look like anyone's good enough to really play for us, I would say. or that we can profit off of him later on. Noel Gunler looks like the only one, but I feel as though that would come at a risk for the rest of our team. Antonio Stranges is a player that I've enjoyed getting in the past, but he doesn't end up ever playing. I was very high on this guy. I thought this guy was actually going to make the NHL at some point. He looks good, though. Like, obviously his offensive rating looks good. His physicals look good. Defensive, don't even talk about. Determination's not there, but he's a team player and he's good temperament. It's definitely a guy that I would want to sign, but ultimately we can't. I just don't know where you play, really. So I feel as though the scouting has that wrong, but I could be way off base as well, the fact that he's available for waivers. But yeah, checking's not there, face-off's not there, and he's a center, apparently. Size-wise, he looks decent, though. More of a winger than necessarily a forward. But we'll end up starting this off. We're not going to end up grabbing any players. Sure. I don't know why I would suggest that. But so far, the training looked like it ended up doing decent. It didn't. I don't think it went as crazy as what I would have hoped for. I would have expected like maybe 1 or 2 spots jumping, but didn't. It looked like it was one at a time. Nothing really to write home about here. Kelly card day to day. Okay, fresh start. Yeah, waivers. So not many good players grabbed on this waivers this year. No Gunler. Yeah, see, that was the only guy that I would have taken. And then, yeah, we don't need him either. So, see what we'll play this first game against Washington. See how it goes. 3-0 loss. So yeah, obviously we're still improving. It's either us that needs to end up plummeting this season, or it's Columbus. So either or, at least one of our teams need to go down, because then you have Dupont, who is the top prospect this year. I mean, I'm not really too concerned about it. As long as we get like a top 10 pick, feels like we're right where we need to be. Obviously, the players that we end up getting now have developed pretty well, so we'll end up seeing how well we do for the Chicago game. For whatever reason, Skarrick's going to now play here. I like Lindbaum. I don't know why AI would suggest this. Seems like a bad pickup, but for whatever reason, yeah, we end up winning our first game with our backup. Lindholm, Klingberg, and Hoggins end up getting on the score sheet there finally. Pinchuk, McAvoy, and McQueen, and then Nelson, Hoggins, and Kaliev, and then Lindholm and Andre. I could have traded Kaliev as well. We did make one trade. I will show that. I'm a little bit scatterbrained here. So we'll look at, trades here. We did end up getting Smith. We gave up, I'll show you Smith in a second. We ended up getting rid of DiPietro and 3 prospects and a 4th-round pick for this guy, just as an insurance case if we don't get one of the top picks, because he does look like he should develop into a decent two-way defenseman. He's already graded at around 71 last year, but he looks pretty good. I mean, he was a first-round pick 2 years ago, so that kind of tells you a little bit all you need to know about that. But we did trade with Columbus once again. They seem to be one of our favorite trading partners, and so far they lost their first game. That's a huge plus to us. And then now we have Buffalo here. Now we have to see what we can do with. We're 1-1 right now. I wonder if Buffalo's going to be as good as what they were last season. And then same thing with Tampa. Tampa ended up doing pretty well as well. Same thing with Montreal. So Vronkov's still out. For whatever reason, McKenna was sitting. And I don't like how they keep changing that. We'll end up seeing how Hoggins does on the top line here. We win 6-3, so it looks like I know a little bit. McQueen gets his first goal. Pinchuk and Hoggins end up getting on the score sheet as well. And then Lindholm and Pasternak as well. McKenna gets his first of the season. And it looks like all our prospects ended up scoring in that game, where we made that slight adjustment. Skarrick at the top in terms of goals against with only 1. And now we end up facing off against Tampa. Let's see what we can do here. Columbus is 0-2. So like I said, as long as one of us ends up sucking so bad, that it is what it is, and that's fine. I am completely fine with us not necessarily tanking Season 2, but obviously I'll do what I have to do over the long run. Pinard, whatever. I don't know why this... So we'll leave that at that. Kaliyev, Pinchuk, Poitras. Again, I don't know why they keep changing it like that. I don't think it involves that much difference in terms of minutes. Nelson, Lindholm, and Hoggins end up getting on the score sheet there. But yeah, like I said, we'll probably have to do something more long-term to be able to guarantee our spots. Obviously, injuries end up happening, I understand that. And like that is what it is. But when I know you can lock certain positions as well, but I don't really want to do that just in case someone is day-to-day. And I feel as though that's kind of the recipe that I do. I mean, I don't know if there's necessarily a right or wrong way, but I like to typically give my prospects as much game time as possible, especially if we're trying to develop them quicker than what you have to. So Leeson, yeah, obviously sitting on the bench. Hoggins still second line. I'm fine with that. Just give him kind of the time. Musty now being trained as right winger. Yeah, sure, we'll leave that at there, and then Kaliyev goes down. 3-2 win there. McQueen, Lindholm, and Pinard. Pinard ends up scoring on the bottom line. Musty and Poitras as well, getting assists there at the end. Ultimately, we end up winning away from home, which is pretty good. And Columbus now has won their first game, and does look like Penguins are going to suck this year. I feel bad for Sidney Crosby. He hasn't quite had a team built around him in a little while, and doesn't look like he's going to go on a long run in a while, or probably for the rest of his career. We do lose this game. We do make it to overtime, though. Lindholm ends up getting a goal. Poitras, Klingberg get there first, and then ultimately Makar ends up destroying us. So it does put us in 4th place here. We'll play 2 more here, and then kind of see how the stats are looking, and then see what decisions we're going to end up having to make anyways. 1772. He did just pass 1700 this season, so not that bad. We'll leave things as they are. Minus, actually no, we'll do AI. We'll do whatever that recommends, and we'll make the adjustments after. And then also Utah ended up having a signing today as well. That was kind of crazy. Very good deal for sure. Pinchuk ends up getting his 3rd. Lindholm gets his 1st, and then somehow Leeson ended up playing 1 game, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, I don't know why I forget his name. Logan Cooley ended up just signing a $10 million a year deal, which I find criminally underrated. I'm a big fan of Cooley, and the fact that they have a lot of their forwards signed up for a while. It does look like Utah could be a dominant team. I say that as they're 1-4-1, and it looks like minor injury for Swayman. He's probably gonna have to sit this one out. 3-3-1 is not that bad though. So we'll play this last game here against Florida. Then we'll kind of look at the stats. We lose 5-4 in overtime as well, so 3-3-2. Lindholm scores, Hoggins scores his 2nd, Andre and Pasternak as well. Like I said, not necessarily expecting us to go crazy, but we're still better than what we were last year. Lindholm has 6 goals though. And we find ourselves in 4th place, obviously 2 games at hand. Buffalo should be able to make up that difference. In terms of the league though, we are sitting at the top half of the league. Can't really complain about that. 24 goals for, 29 against. That kind of gives you the recipe that you're going to probably suck, and losing the last 3. It is what you have to anticipate. But it does look like a lot of these teams are a little bit worse than we are. But hopefully we can manage to either make the playoffs or slightly miss out on it. I'd be okay with either or. Like I said, we just need Columbus at least to finish at the bottom. But we'll end up reevaluating that as we go. But before we end up going, we'll look at the stats. We'll look at the goals, we'll look at the points, we'll look at everything. Lindholm ends up getting 8 points in 8 games. Pretty good. Hagens with 8 points as well. That is a very good start to his tenure with us. Pasternak with 7. McQueen with 7. Bernard with 6. So producing pretty well for a bottom line player. Klingberg with 4. Pinchuk with 3. Andre with 3. And then McKenna with 3 as well. Poitras, not doing that great, but not doing that bad either. Longberg also getting 3 points. We have a bunch of players with 3 points. Lorley as well, still only 2.5 stars. I think he was projected to be 3. He's grading around a 60. So we'll look at the grades. Pasternak was 75. Hawkins was 72. So definitely playing their role properly. Edwards, when he has played the 3 games, he's graded around a 70. Insane. And then McQueen also and McKenna. So both our rookies are doing pretty well this season. I would say all 3 of them are grading pretty well. And then Klingberg and Lindholm, I mean, mid to low 60s. I don't know if I really like that. So we could part ways with them for sure. Skarek, the 3 games that he's played, he's 1-1-1, 886 in terms of save percentage. And then Swayman is 2-2-1 and 892. So ultimately not that great. He is injured slightly, but he should be back soon. So hopefully we can manage to do what we have to do here. Just looking into the future, I'm okay with us losing this year and then building it next year. I'm not really anticipating our players to develop that quickly, to be already at NHL ready, but the fact that we have a decent amount of 5 stars and a couple 4 stars as well, I mean, looks like we're starting to at least get that, especially with our depth chart as well. If any of these players can produce or develop the way that we want them to, everything's looking positive in the future. So hopefully you guys like that. Leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you for watching. Until next time.